Hi, it's Stacy from Scrap Girl Designs. Scrap Girl Designs. Sorry about the glare, but I wanted to shoot on a white background today instead of the black and white. So we can talk about paper trimmers, which are really important to card making, and to find one that works best for you. So my go-to and first choice, well, let me back up a second. There are really two different kinds of paper trimmers, although there's many versions of those two different kinds. But you have one that has a blade in the arm, and these are disposable blades. So these do have a reoccurring cost to them in that these blades do dull, and you always want a really sharp blade in order to get a good clean cut. And then there's what I'll call self-sharpening, or oftentimes referred to as a guillotine style. This particular one is made by Tonic. I've had this for a long time. I rarely use it. But the more you use these, they have an action where the blade rubs against this metal piece and it sharpens. So the more you use it, the better your cuts will become. And I'll go through the features of this particular one, which I do believe Tonic still sells, in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go back to this one and things you should look for when it comes to a trimmer that you like. This particular one has an arm that opens up, so you can have a longer piece of paper to measure, and it goes out to 15 inches. The reason that I like this trimmer the most is because the bed goes out to 6 inches, and with card making, your most frequent measurements are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I found that many beds end right at the 5 1/2 mark, which makes it hard to get a precise measurement on 5 1/2. This one goes out to 6 inches. I have another example of this type of trimmer. It's made by Cricut. This particular one's made by Fiskars, and it's still offered and for sale. This one is made by Cricut, which I also like this one. Rather than the bed going out to 6 inches, which would be here, it goes to 3 3/4 approximately, which isn't a normal measurement, so that doesn't bother me so much. So it's easy to measure a 4 1/4, and it's also easy to measure a 5 1/2. What I like also about both of these, again, the Cricut one this is a replaceable blade, so it's the same reoccurring cost. What I like about both of these is the measurements are very easy to read, and you have measurements that go an inch and a half or so to this side of the blade, and also, like I said, out to 15 inches on this side. It's got a good grid that's easy to see. It has a paper guard at the bottom and the top, which with this style of trimmer, you always want to push against the paper. So sometimes that means you want to pull it towards you, and other times that means that you want to push away. So having the ability to have measurements across the bottom where you can pull the blade towards you is important. Some of them don't offer a butting in at the bottom as well. This one also has measurements across the guard. This is the guard. It also has, which the Cricut does not, it has a very thin wire which you cannot see, and you won't be able to even if I were to zoom in. It has a wire that helps you know exactly where the blade is going to cut. It also has little tick marks on the top and bottom of the blade, and also on either side of the blade, that help you know where the blade is going to stop and start. So you can cut inside a frame because you know exactly where this frame is going to stop. The things to note about this, like I said, you have the reoccurring cost of the blades. What I've noticed is that you have to push the guard down and hold it down while your paper's in it, or your cuts can be off. And also, if you push too hard from here, your cuts can be slightly off. And while that doesn't seem very important, it is when you're trying to put something straight on a page. Also, this particular one has this feature here which locks this in place, that makes it easy to carry it in your bag for going on crops and other places. So that's the one with the blades. Going back to the guillotine style, this one's made, again, like I said, by Tonic. It also has a butt at the top. As you can notice, it does have a measurement in both imperial and metric system. However, this band here is pretty easy to read in the middle. This one, not so much. So if you have a hard time seeing, this might be important to you to have an easier read on your measurements. One thing is that this is engraved into the plastic here, so you could take some acrylic paint of a contrasting color and put it into the grooves so that you could see the measurements easier if you really wanted this style of a trimmer. Like I said, this gets sharper with use. A lot of people use the one that's branded by Tim Holtz that is very similar to this one. I just don't particularly care. I don't feel like guillotine trimmers give me the most accurate cuts, but there's a lot of people out there with a different opinion, and you have to do what's best for you. Again, you'll put your paper into butt it up against what your measurement is. You want to make sure you hold this guide down or guard when you make your cut in order to keep the paper lying flat. If you don't put this down, the paper will shift. And also this, I'm not going to try to, I guess it wasn't as hard as I thought. This handle pulls out and it can be stored underneath to make it a little bit easier to store. I don't normally take my handle out, which is why I didn't realize it was so easy to pull out. So that's the Tonic brand. The one I keep on my desk and I use all the time is this one by Caterpillar. I love this paper trimmer, and I only have one complaint, and I'll tell you what it is in a second. I have two different ones. There's a professional one that has a bed that's larger than this. It takes up a lot of space, which is why I don't tend to use that one. Again, my cuts are normally 5.5 by 4 1/4, so you can see that this bed goes out to about 6 3/4 inches. And the thing I like about this one is it has a light in where the cut is to help you get a more precise cut and to be able to see where it's going to cut. It takes a lot of batteries for this, but I believe they're LEDs. I have not yet had to replace the batteries, and I've had this trimmer for probably 3 years. I don't use the light all the time, so that could be part of the reason why it doesn't use a lot of juice, but they say not to hold it by this, but this has a action where you slide the blade against the metal edge. This is also a self-sharpening blade, so I always tap it on the outside and pull it towards me. There is only a measurement and a ledge to butt your paper against on the one side, not the bottom, which is something I don't really like about it. And this also has an arm that can shift out to measure up to 18 inches. Make that 17.5 inches. I feel like I can get very precise, very narrow, just shivers of cuts on this paper trimmer, which is why I love it so much. The thing I don't love about it, as you might be able to tell, is that I've taken, like I suggested with the tonic, I've taken acrylic paint and put it into the measurements so that I could read them, because it doesn't have a color of any sort. It's just engraved in the plastic, and then you can't see it at all without being right up on it. I've actually written the company to see if they have any plans on the books to make a change to that, because that's probably the only negative thing I have about this printer, or this trimmer. And they said it would make the cutter more expensive, and this is on the higher price, and it's if I remember right, it's been a while since I purchased one, but it was over $100 if I remember right. And if you're not doing this every day, all day, that's expensive. For me, it was important to get accurate cuts, which is what I was looking for when I was shifting from my Fiskars, because I felt like I was suddenly not getting very accurate cuts with that one. So again, this is one of my favorites. I keep it on my desk all the time. I use it most of the time. I use my other ones when I'm traveling, and the guillotine one is one I bought years ago and I don't really use at all. I have two other styles like the Fiskars one. Yeah, I have a disease. I have too many of these things. I have two others of this style of trimmer. The other one's a Fiskars, and one is by Stampin' Up. Let me grab my Stampin' Up. This is the one by Stampin' Up. Again, you're not supposed to pick that up by that's not a holder. Me picking it up that way for prolonged periods of time is going to make it off. So not a good idea to do that. This one by Stampin' Up, I'll tell you what I dislike about it. It's got super accurate cuts. They offer a scoring blade as well as a cutting blade, which I appreciate. This is a fairly new design for them, probably 2 years old, 2.5, 3 years old. It also has the arm that comes out with up to 17.25 inch capability. You can read the numbers really well. These numbers are not embedded, which over time I feel like they could lose visibility without being engraved into the plastic. I don't care for that too much. The big no-go for me on this is when you're trying to use this trimmer, for some reason it is not sitting properly in its... I'll figure that out later, but I don't like that it kind of locks every time, and so I don't... That's just a personal preference. I don't really care for. But the big thing is it's got a ledge right here. So when I'm only using the bed out to, I don't need to measure anything longer than 6 inches, and I want to keep the arm in. My paper, I have to push the paper out that way. I can't go this way because there's a ledge here and the paper always gets caught in it. It seems like a little thing, but if you're making a lot of cards, that's a pretty big thing. I have it. I don't dislike it per se. It's just not my favorite. If you're interested in Stampin' Up, you can go online and pick a demonstrator and then purchase off their website if you like this one and you want to purchase this one. You have to figure, like I said, you got to figure out what you know, what measurements are going to work for you, and if it's too inconvenient to have these little tweaks that I've talked about. All of these that I've talked about here, including the tonic one, are all still offered and available readily online. So that is everything. Oh, it snapped back into place. Yay. That's everything. So I can kind of demonstrate what I was talking about just with a scratch piece of paper. So if I have something in here, I can't pull it this way. I have to go this way, or, you know, pick it up like this. And I don't always like to do that because sometimes it bends my paper, and I'm fussy about such things. So anyway, this is all of these trimmers, as I talked about, are available readily. The Cricut one off the Cricut website. The tonic one is available on the tonic site. That's this one. I believe that there's a couple other places, probably Amazon. I'm not affiliated with Amazon at the moment, so you could probably pick this up there, though. This one is available, I believe. Well, I purchased it off the Cutterbee site. Or Cutterpillar. Sorry, Cutterpillar. Say that again. Cutterpillar. So that I don't get that wrong. I bought mine off their website. I believe there are other places you can purchase it. You'd have to find it on a Google search. Again, the Cricut one is available on the Cricut website. Let me know if you have any other questions. That's all about what I see as important in a paper trimmer. And I've been going on for a really long time. And it stopped. And I don't know where.